Blockchain is by far one of the best industries for developers in 2021. Like if I had to go back to square one and start over again in 2021, blockchain is what I would do for lots of reasons. It's one of the highest paid skills in tech. There's so many different ways to make money with the skills. You can do things besides just get a job. You can earn passive income like trading bots, flash loans, DeFi. It's crazy how many things you can do with it. All right. So in this video, I want to make this guide on how to do that, how to get started in blockchain in 2021, because so much has changed. And I want to make this updated video to talk about the state of blockchain in 2021 and what you need to do to transition into this exciting, futuristic, highly lucrative career. Okay. So whether you're an advanced developer already and you want to transition into blockchain, or whether you're a total beginner, like starting from scratch, then this guide is for you. So before we get into that, if you're new around here, hey, I'm Gregory, and on this channel, I turn you into a blockchain master. So I spent a lot of time creating videos like this to help you all learn about blockchain, how to transition into this industry. And the only two things that I ask in return for creating this massive video for you is that you like this video, click that like button down below, just smash it for the YouTube algorithm, and subscribe to this channel because you're going to see a lot more high value videos just like this one. All right, so with that out of the way, let's jump in and get started. I was a professional developer already before I got into blockchain. But there's lots of people who have gotten into cryptocurrency and hey, I want to learn to code. Okay. So, that's great. I mean, like I said, I was already a developer, but cryptocurrency is what got me interested in blockchain technology in the first place, caused me to really make that career transition because that's what I do now. I do blockchain development only at this point. And so, I want to help anybody in any of those camps, learn how to do this stuff. So we're going to talk about everything that you need to know. So I did one of these videos last year, but we're going to update it for 2021 because so much has changed. So we're going to talk about the current state of the industry, what's the average salary, who's hiring blockchain developers, how can you get a remote job, all right? What are the hottest trends that you need to keep up with and know about if you want to jump in on this stuff right now while it's still early? All right, we're talking about what to learn, the programming languages, what are the skills, concepts, everything you need to know. And then we'll hash that into a step-by-step plan. So from wherever you're starting from, we'll say start here and then learn this thing and then the next thing and the next thing until you've met your goal. Okay. And then finally, we're going to answer some frequently asked questions how long does it take to become a blockchain developer? Should you learn blockchain first or should you learn a bunch of other programming languages before you transition into blockchain? Okay. These are questions I get all the time and I want to give you clarity on those in this video. All right. We'll also answer some really general stuff like what do blockchain developers do? Which blockchain should I use? All that kind of stuff throughout the video as we hit those relevant points. All right. So, get comfortable, grab a snack. We're going to be here a while, but you're going to be so glad that you watched this video because we're going to answer all your questions and give you the concrete step-by-step plan on how to do this in 2021. All right. So, bookmark this video, come back, watch it, repeat, study this, live this, eat this, breathe this if this is your goal. All right, so now let's talk about the state of blockchain development in 2021. So let's look at real world salary data, what are people actually earning at blockchain developer jobs? And we'll look at some job postings out there in the wild so that we can see what the actual job requirements are from, people who are trying to hire blockchain developers, okay? So let's start off with the average blockchain developer salary. So the average salary in the United States, that's an important distinction here, is $154,000 per year at the time of recording this video. Okay. So now, of course, that is somebody with some experience. If you're brand new, you're probably not just going to wake up tomorrow after watching a couple videos and earn that kind of money. But that shows you what you can aim for over time as you decide to go down this career path. Okay. It's an incredibly lucrative field. And you can see the salary distribution here, sure, 154 is the national average. You can see a big concentration just below that average, which means there's people who are, highly paid who are kind of skewing the average a little bit. But that just shows you the upside of what is possible here over the long term. As you gain some experience, you gain some expertise, you can make a lot of money. Okay. So even on the low end, there's lots of jobs that are offering $74,000 to $94,000. So basically less than 20% of people make less than six figures, according to this salary data. So now, of course, this is on a recruiting platform. This is ZipRecruiter.com. This is based on the jobs that are posted on their website, but we can still compare this to other fields that they're using to hire for the same thing. So let's see, like, how does blockchain pay compared to other technical fields? All right. So this is not a blockchain developer website, so they'll list all kinds of jobs. So it's like a mobile developer. All right. So a mobile developer, the average salary is $105,000. So $50,000 less. And you can see the salary distribution here is lots of people making way less than the average. All right. And the top end's only about $150,000, which is right in the smack in the middle of the average for blockchain. All right. Let's look at just regular web developer. The only national average is only $75,000. So it is literally half of the average salary for blockchain. So that kind of gives you a big picture perspective on how to weight this. All right. You can compare it to other fields. So if you're just like starting from scratch, or maybe you're in another software development niche already, and you're trying to figure out where you want to specialize, then, blockchain's pretty attractive compared to the alternatives available to you. All right. So, let's look at some job postings to see, like, what do blockchain developers do at their jobs? What do I need to know to be hired? We'll talk about a lot of that in depth as we go throughout this video, but let's just look at some job postings to see. So we'll start off, I did some searching here for blockchain developer jobs. That's one way you can do this. You can just go to any recruiting website or job posting website, just search for blockchain developer. Some other tips are you might want to search for, like, sometimes blockchain jobs are hidden. I'll talk about that in a minute. You might want to search for software. Sometimes they're labeled software developer, but they have blockchain in the job description. Okay, so sometimes it also doesn't always say blockchain developer in the title. But anyways, here is a principal blockchain developer as a remote job, all right, in Los Angeles. So this is for a compensation range of $150,000 to $200,000. So on the high side, this is definitely for somebody with some experience. Okay, this is not a junior entry level role. But let's see what they do. Okay, so this is someone who, okay, right here, 5 years of software engineering experience. But there's plenty of people who are going to be watching this video who have 5 years of software engineering experience. And you may not even really need 5 years of experience. Okay, that's the reality behind these job postings is sometimes companies require this, huge set of requirements. But even if you meet most of the really important requirements, you could still get the job if you have maybe 3 years of experience and we're really good. So take that with a grain of salt. Anyways, strong experience in developing large-scale concurrent-driven data systems, prior working experience with public key cryptography, server-side blockchain experience is a plus. So they want experience with JavaScript, Go, and C++. So strong computer science fundamentals, really general stuff. Really just general blockchain knowledge is kind of what they're looking for. So they want somebody who knows Node, React, Go, C++, AWS, Ethereum. All right, that's important. We're going to talk about Ethereum technologies quite a bit in this video. Solidity. All right, this is a programming language used for Ethereum smart contracts. So they get good vacation, all the benefits. All right, so anyways, that's basically really standard set of requirements for blockchain developers, but somebody with a significant amount of experience, and they're going to be making, a really healthy 6-figure salary. So we'll look at another job posting here. This is for Ethereum blockchain engineer. So they specify that in the title. Whereas the other one is also really an Ethereum blockchain developer as well. It's just, they don't say it in the title. So sometimes you have to really read the postings before you understand exactly what the job is. It's a little ambiguous. So anyways, this is for an Ethereum blockchain engineer. So again, flexible, remote. All right. A lot of these jobs are remote. Blockchain's incredibly remote friendly because it's such a new field, and not everybody can just reach out and grab a blockchain developer down the street. Maybe if you live in a big metro, a big tech hub like San Francisco, Los Angeles, New York, all that kind of stuff, you might be able to, but most people can't. All right. And so for that reason, it's very remote friendly. All right. So in this role, you will develop and maintain highly reliable, scalable, secure applications, develop blockchain-related microservices and APIs. So this is sounds like a back-end developer role. We'll talk about front-end, back-end in this video. Automate the deployment of blockchain-specific software. All right. So it sounds like they're going to be probably creating smart contracts and then putting them on a blockchain. Collaborate with other developers to design and optimize code. write customer-facing SDKs. So that's a software development kit. So it sounds like they have some sort of like really specialized product here. Develop UIs with tools such as React.js, interact with APIs. All right. So we'll talk about React in this video. So they are doing some front-end development as well. So it sounds like it's a full stack position. You'll touch the back end and the front end. All right. And then plan and execute performance tests. Yeah, totally. So they want somebody who knows Golang and or Node.js, knowledge of Ethereum smart contracts, knowledge of React, DevOps skills like AWS, Google Cloud Platform, something like that, Docker. Okay, so there's, yeah, anyways, we don't need to go through everything in there, but the whole idea is a full stack developer position. It didn't look like they specify the experience. It says a senior role, okay. But this is still like $105,000 to $180,000 roughly dollars per year. So pretty big range, probably based on your experience, but, yeah, totally. So that's what a job requirements look like for a, senior developer. So both these jobs have been very experienced. Let's look at something that's a little less experienced. Let's say you're just starting out. Okay, let's look at some of the salary data for that. So based on ZipRecruiter's platform, this says the national average for junior blockchain developers is still $123,000. That seems like it might be a little high, to tell you the truth. But hey, I mean, I could be wrong. Maybe their platform's totally right. But I think, yeah, it's possible for juniors to make six-figure salaries. It just seems like 123 might be a little high, but hey, that's what their platform says. So anyways, you can see the salary distribution here. But let's look at a job posting for an internship. So like, this may be great if you're just starting out, you want to get your foot in the door as fast as possible. Because sometimes that's a good way to get started. Like sometimes an internship is even better than a coding boot camp, because if you can like teach yourself with some online resources, some on-demand video content, some tutorials, some courses, and then get an internship where you don't have super high expectations placed upon you, and that internship is either minimally paid or maybe it's free for a little while, and then you pay kicks in at a certain point, then that might be cheaper for you in the long run, and you'll jump in and get the experience that way. So there are blockchain internships out here. Here's an example. So what is this person responsible for? So they research, design, and build high quality educational content on blockchain platforms like Ethereum, Hyperledger, Multichain, Corda. So they're doing a little bit of educational content, maybe some videos, maybe some blog posts, but they're brainstorming and helping applications for new tools. So some planning. So here's where it looks like some technical skills come into play. So blockchain evaluation, smart contract development, implementation, and supporting digital strategy group initiatives. So that's probably where your technical skills are really going to come into play. If you understand how smart contracts work and blockchains, you'll evaluate them. You'll actually create some new smart contracts. And then, so you'll basically have some expertise for analyzing and helping make decisions. That's what a lot of this stuff looks like, okay? So they want you to be able to develop for blockchain, all that kind of stuff, all right? So anyways, that's a pretty big range on what the salary data looks like, what the remote job situation looks like, what should blockchain developers be doing based on these actual real-world job posts. All right, so now let's talk about what people actually use blockchain for. Okay, I've got a big list of things over here. This is most of them. We're going to talk about all of them in this section. But let's first talk about what is blockchain at all, because you might have seen cryptocurrency, you might have heard about Bitcoin, Ethereum, and you don't understand the difference between cryptocurrency versus blockchain, okay? So let's just start with Bitcoin. It's the most popular cryptocurrency out there. So Bitcoin is a cryptocurrency, but the Bitcoin blockchain is what enables that cryptocurrency to exist, all right? So the Bitcoin blockchain is just a distributed network that runs on a bunch of different computers across the world that enables the Bitcoin currency. It creates something called a public ledger that keeps track of who owns how much Bitcoin. And every time a Bitcoin is sent from one person to another, the network facilitates that transaction. All right. So we'll talk more about that probably in this video. That's the basics. Bitcoin is a cryptocurrency, and the Bitcoin blockchain enables that cryptocurrency to exist. So the same thing is true for Ethereum. So the second most popular cryptocurrency out there. Ethereum is a cryptocurrency. Or it's really called Ether, but for simple purposes, Ethereum is a cryptocurrency, and then the Ethereum blockchain is what enables that cryptocurrency to exist. Now, Not all blockchains are created equal. Some work differently than others. In fact, most of them have subtle differences. That's why there are different blockchains. Okay. So the big difference between Bitcoin and Ethereum is that the Bitcoin blockchain, all it really does is enable the Bitcoin cryptocurrency to exist. All right. The Ethereum blockchain allows Ether to exist, but it also does a lot more. Okay. It functions more like a worldwide computer that supports programs. It supports smart contracts. Okay. This is just pieces of code that live on the blockchain that power blockchain applications. Right. This is what a lot of blockchain developers will be doing. Will be creating these applications that get deployed to the blockchain. People can use them. We're going to look at some examples of those here in a second. But that's the big difference between cryptocurrency and blockchain technology. Cryptocurrency is an example of blockchain technology. But there are lots of other things that blockchain developers will be doing besides just creating cryptocurrencies and sending it around. So let's talk about some of those. So the first thing, we're talking about some big categories. Cryptocurrency is a huge use case of blockchain technology. And for that reason, I'd say finance is probably the biggest super category that blockchain technology is used for. All right. Financial transactions, there's lots of reasons for this. Blockchain's really good at handling money because it's just value, all right? And you can transfer value, you can program stuff with that value. So cryptocurrency is probably the biggest use case right now, and doing things with cryptocurrency, if you're going to become a blockchain developer, is really popular. Part of that is just payments, all right? So paying for things with cryptocurrency. Maybe a checkout system where you accept cryptocurrency on an e-commerce website or something like that. Maybe a mobile payment app, like Venmo, for example. All right. So, one of the biggest categories that really exploded in 2020 and is going to be super hot for 2021. This is a huge trend, that you need to know about if you care about blockchain. So let's say you even work in some other field in blockchain, like supply chain, identity, real estate. You can't ignore DeFi, all right, because it's such a massive trend in blockchain. Okay, so DeFi is short for decentralized finance, which is basically taking existing financial products and moving them over to the blockchain. Things like savings, loans, trading, et cetera, et cetera. All right. So this is a use case that over 10x'd in 2020. All right. So it just grew like crazy, like a hockey stick. All right. You can see the adoption here. It was just insane. All right. I sat there and watched this thing all year take off. I did my first like DeFi video in, I think it was in like October or November of 2019, and then just watch everything like take off like crazy. So there's lots of different DeFi applications out there. You can basically like replace a lot of the existing financial infrastructure, like banking. You can create apps that have competitive savings rates and lending rates and all that kind of stuff. We're going to look at plenty of examples of those. Cryptocurrency exchanges that are built directly on the blockchain, doing derivatives trading on the blockchain, anything you can really think about in terms of like finance. People are trying to build blockchain solutions that replicate those and improve those, okay, to give people more access, make them trustless, transparent, all that kind of stuff, okay? So we'll definitely look at some examples of DeFi applications. That's one use case you cannot ignore because it's a super hot trend in blockchain right now, okay? So another big thing is supply chain. So if you're not familiar with that, that's basically tracking the movement of goods that turn into end products. It may not be the best definition, but that's sort of my off-the-cuff explanation. So an example of supply chain is, let's say you go to like Walmart, for example, and you buy, or any store, Amazon, okay, everybody probably familiar with Amazon worldwide. Say you buy like a desk off Amazon, right? And you get the desk, but it comes in a box with a bunch of parts. Like the top is a piece of wood, and the sides are like, metal legs, and it's got a bunch of screws and everything, and you have to put the desk together. Well, it's very likely that each of those pieces came from a different company originally, right? You might have bought the desk from a single distributor, but like somebody probably specialized in making the wood for that desk, and then that company ordered it from them, right? And they cut down the tree and all that kind of stuff. The screws probably came from some company that like specializes in making screws, right? The legs. And so, I mean, you get the idea, right? Each part of the desk comes from a different place originally. And supply chain is about tracking all of that, all right? And it's about like, how does the metal that makes the screw, the wood that makes the desk turn into the desk eventually, okay? Because you have to manage all that stuff. You know, you have to it's a complicated process. Anyways, supply chain is a big blockchain use case that tracks all that stuff. Make sure that packages get to the right place on time, that distributors are honest and transparent when goods move from point A to point B, all that kind of stuff. So supply chain is a big use case. I would file this under probably still a more experimental use case of blockchain technology. But big companies are investigating this, like Walmart, for example, is looking at like its own distributed ledger technology. I believe it's a proprietary thing, so don't quote me on that. I don't have all of the details. But yeah, supply chain is definitely one way people are investigating investigating blockchain technology for its transparency, its trustlessness, all that kind of stuff. So another quick kind of grab bag of things like digital identity, real estate, all right, healthcare, and a lot more, all right? So we're going to look at some examples of some blockchain-based applications here. But first, let's talk about like, why would people use the blockchain? This is what they're using it for, but why even do this? You can do a lot of this stuff in a different way. We can already do trading. We already have money. We can already track supply chain. So why would we use the blockchain for this? All right, so let's talk about why people would use this technology in the first place. So there's three big reasons that I'm going to talk about. The first one is transparency / verifiability, because a lot of times with blockchain, everything that happens is public. Other people can see it. We can verify that it happened. So why might you want to do that? Well, think about any use case where you just have to like trust somebody else that something happened behind the scenes that you might want to verify for yourself. Okay, be transparent. Other people can audit it. A vote, for example, if you're going to vote in an election and you cast your vote, you might want to make sure that it was counted. All right. So if you make it transparent, then you could potentially audit that yourself, or somebody else who had permission to audit it could audit it, right? Also going back to that supply chain thing, okay? So let's say that you wanted to guarantee that like you had completely organic vegetables or something like that, and you wanted to track that piece of produce everywhere through the supply chain. Well, that's part of the transparency that you get with blockchain, okay? So another thing is trustlessness, and this is the trustlessness of the programs themselves. So say you have a regular application that has like a database, for example, and some code, and then you basically have to trust an application creator that they're not going to update the code, which is basically the rules of the system, or the database, which tracks the current state of the system. So money is an example, all right? If you want to create a digital money, it's really terrible to create it with just a regular app, like a website, for example, or maybe like a business like database or something like that. Okay, because here's why. If you code that app, then you, the app creator, could just like change something instantly. You could change how the money works. You could change somebody's balance. You could just say, well, I'll just take $100 from this guy and give it to that guy, right? There's a central party that controls that money, which is terrible, okay? So blockchain fixes that and changes that. So that's one way you're able to create a cryptocurrency, is that you have a computer that everyone runs a redundant copy of and keeps a copy of all the code and all the data that govern how that currency work. And anytime a transaction is created, I send cryptocurrency from me to you, all those computers participate in achieving consensus on that transaction to facilitate it and update the public ledger, update the state, all that kind of stuff, okay? So that's what I mean by trustless. You know that it's going to work the same way. You don't have to trust any central entities, that it's going to change, all right? So the last one is security. So basically, blockchain achieves security through cryptography. Okay. Cryptographic hashing. This is the core of how the technology works. Talk about cryptocurrency. That's where the name comes from. So one big reason that people use blockchain is for enhanced security, okay, of their applications. So now let's talk about some real world example apps that are out there in the wild right now that you can use today to see this technology, in action. Because talk about all these benefits, this trustlessness, verifiability, all that kind of stuff. Okay. So let's look at these example apps that employ those things or embody those things. And so you can just see examples of blockchain apps that developers are getting paid to build right now. Okay. So we're going to look at the DeFi use case because, again, that's the hottest trend in blockchain right now. It's got the most traction because of financial use case, cryptocurrency, all that kind of stuff. So let's just look at one of my personal favorites that I think has a great use case right now. So this is the Compound protocol or Compound Finance. Okay. So you can just click through to it here. So Compound is a savings and lending app or a money market app. It functions a lot like a bank. It sort of automates your bank away. So you can actually look at the app right here. Okay. So this is a decentralized application. It's a Dapp. It's powered by smart contracts that live on the Ethereum blockchain. Okay. So you see this website here, but it talks directly to the Ethereum blockchain. So if you're going to use it, you have to connect with a mobile wallet like MetaMask, for example. It's this little fox icon here up in my corner of my browser because, most modern web browsers don't support connection to the blockchain out of the box. You install a special browser extension. Okay. Talk about a workaround and a solution to that here in a second. But that's what you need to do if you're going to go use Compound Finance and see this in action. Okay. And connect your wallet. I'll talk about detailed steps on how to do that towards the end of this video. But here's what it does. So basically, it works a lot like a bank. You can deposit cryptocurrency inside of here and earn interest like you would at a bank. And you might say, yeah, that's cool, but don't cryptocurrency prices go up and down like crazy all the time, right? That's true, but not all cryptocurrencies. So there are some stable cryptocurrencies whose price don't change relative to a different cryptocurrency, like US dollar, for example. So DAI is an example of a stable coin that doesn't have the same volatility as like Bitcoin or Ethereum. USD coin or USDC is another example, and also Tether. And all these cryptocurrencies operate on top of the Ethereum blockchain. They're ERC20 tokens. They're cryptocurrencies that are on top of a different blockchain. At least they have Ethereum versions of them. Okay. So here's why someone would use this application on blockchain instead is they can get a benefit they can't get somewhere else. Okay. They get a competitive interest rate. So I don't know about you, but I get really bad interest in my bank. All right. I get like 0.0 something percent interest, but here you get like 3% interest or 2.73% interest, right? On a stable coin, which basically you could take dollars from your bank account, convert them to stable coin, put them in an application like this and earn a competitive interest rate. All right. So I'm not advising you to do that. Okay. So this is still very early technology. There's quite a bit of risk involved with using an app like this. So that's not financial advice. I'm not telling you to do that. I would not personally do that with all of my spare cash in my bank account because there's plenty of risk associated with this. All right. But over the long term, this can become more secure and this can become a more viable way of, earning some passive income on your funds that you aren't using, your deposited funds. Okay. So how does it work? Well, basically it provides loans on the other side of things. People can borrow, against their funds. They can deposit cryptocurrency and then borrow against it. Which you can see as a 4% interest rate here on borrowing. So, there's a spread here. There's a 1% spread and the app's basically able to make profit on that. So it's able to be competitive with your bank because your bank charges all these crazy fees in their spread because they have staff, they got blah, 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 and all this fat basically. And Compound's able to automate away a lot of that stuff with smart contracts. It's one of the reasons they can give you a competitive interest rate and then loan money so, cheaply in some cases. And lots of people are doing that for like trading, for DeFi, for yield farming, all that kind of stuff. So that's one example of a really hot blockchain application. It's got a website here that talks to the blockchain, the smart contracts that live on the blockchain. It has a real world use case that is competitive compared to non-blockchain based applications. All right. So let's look at a mobile application, because I think this is a really important one to look at. Because I talked about this application. When you go here, you have to install a special browser extension. You have to like go to a cryptocurrency exchange first to buy cryptocurrency before you use the application. There's a lot of steps in order to be able to use this. And for a vast majority of people, they're just going to say that's too hard, right? In order for me to use this app. So I want to show you an app that makes it a lot easier. So this is Argent. It's a mobile wallet that allows you to do a lot of this stuff straight from your phone without having to install a special browser extension, without having to go to a cryptocurrency exchange first before you can use the applications. Because I think that's going to be a big gateway for a lot of people. So I think a really good pitch on using blockchain, if you want to try it, again, it's not financial advice. I'm not telling you to do this with a lot of your money, but you could do this for yourself and like show this to other people. You could download an app like Argent, install on your phone, plug in a debit card or something like that, and just put a really small amount of money into the app and start, doing DeFi, like earning passive income interest on a small amount of money. Okay. Just to play around with it. And that's what Argent does. So basically you just download the app. If you have Apple Pay on your phone or Android Pay, you can basically automatically connect your card. You don't have to do anything extra. And let's say you want to put $50 in and start earning interest. You can do that because it hooks into Compound already. All right. And you can go ahead and get that 3% interest that you can see advertised on the website there. So it's important to understand that, because fundamentally in the background, Compound is just a protocol. It's a bunch of smart contracts to deploy the blockchain. Sure, you can access it with the Compound website, but it's totally open. So have you ever heard of like an API on the web? It's like a totally open API. You don't have to have any API keys. Anybody can hook into it and start using the Compound protocol. And that's exactly what, that's exactly what you can do inside of Argent. So they let you buy stable coins, earn interest. You can use other dApps like Uniswap. You can swap tokens for new cryptocurrencies. Let's talk about Uniswap really quickly, because it's probably the most popular app on Ethereum right now. So basically it's a cryptocurrency exchange where you can buy and sell tokens, just straight from your browser. There's no order book. There's no candlestick chart, nothing intimidating. You just tell the cryptocurrency you want to, that you want to swap for, and then, or the crypto that you do have, then you select the token you want to swap for. Let's just say like, BAT. All right. If you want to swap ETH for BAT, you just tell them how much ETH you want, and it'll tell you how much BAT that you can get. You just click swap after you've connected your wallet. And so traders using this kind of stuff all the time. And you can do Uniswap straight out of the box inside of Argent. Again, you don't have to have a special browser extension or anything. All right. Argent's really cool. It's a great way, for new people to start using blockchain directly to their mobile device. And so that's another really great example of a blockchain-based application out there in the wild. All right. So now let's talk about this question. Which blockchain should you use? All right. So this is a little bit tricky of a question to answer, but my simple answer is, unless you have a really good reason that you already know about, then you should use Ethereum. Okay. So Ethereum is the blockchain with the biggest developer community in terms of building blockchain-based applications. It's the #2 market cap cryptocurrency at the time of recording this video. Okay. It's got a very active developer community. It's a general purpose blockchain. It supports smart contracts, where basically you can create Turing complete blockchain applications with the Solidity programming language. It has a ton of momentum in terms of apps and users. I think it's got the most like daily and monthly active users out of any blockchain. So there's lots of demand for it. If you're a developer, it has a very mature developer ecosystem, because when you when you get into developing applications, you don't want to be stuck somewhere where like you can't ask questions and get answers from other people. You want to be able to connect with other developers who have gone down that road, bumped into the walls, and can share, knowledge and wisdom with you, to have answers on Stack Overflow. Where the libraries and tools that you're using are actually maintained and kept up to date. So Ethereum, it checks all those boxes. Okay. Lots of other blockchains do not check all those boxes, and some of them don't check a fraction of those boxes. Okay. So my short answer is, unless you have a really good reason, then I would use Ethereum. Okay. That's the technology that I've focused on completely in my career, on this channel, inside the blockchain bootcamp, all that kind of stuff, for a reason, right? Not just because I'm a fan of Ethereum and arbitrarily I've chosen that and I'm like waiting for the Ethereum price to go up. That's not why. It's because it has a real use case, very active development roadmap, and there's demand for it, rich developer ecosystem, all that kind of stuff. Okay. Especially compared to the other ones out there. So some caveats are like, let's say you have a job that requires you to support Bitcoin, for example. Okay. Because maybe you have an application where Bitcoin is, required. Maybe it's like a checkout system or like some sort of, financial based application. Then you should learn how Bitcoin works, like learn how to make transactions on Bitcoin and do that inside of an application, how to, integrate with a Bitcoin wallet or something. Or let's say, your job requires you to use Hyperledger Fabric, okay, and do like permissioned blockchain. Then you need to learn that, okay, for your job. Or let's say that, your job requires you to do some sort of really proprietary distributed ledger technology that may not even be quite blockchain, for something like supply chain, for example. You would, of course, want to learn that stuff. So those are reasons why you're required to use a different piece of technology. But unless those requirements are upon you, then I would stick with Ethereum. So which programming languages should you learn for blockchain? Well, there's lots of different programming languages depending on, what your job requires of you. So the two most common programming languages are going to be, well, the most common programming language, let's start there, especially if you're dealing with Ethereum-based technologies, which most people who are building blockchain-based solutions are building on top of Ethereum. Then Solidity is probably going to be your number one language if you're doing sort of back-end development or full stack development. Okay. So let me pause really quickly and make that distinction, because I said earlier that we would talk about front end versus back end. So if you're brand new to programming, you've never coded at all, you're just like totally checking this out. So people talk about front end, back end. So front end is basically creating things that the user can see, like a website, for example. So we talked about, Compound Finances is a website. That a front end developer would be responsible for creating something like this. All right. Back end is the thing the user really can't see necessarily. So the thing that makes the app run, on the blockchain in this case. So smart contracts would be an example of back end development in the context of blockchain. Okay. There are other back-end things like servers. You do use servers still often in blockchain for certain benefits and enhancements. But that's an example of front-end versus back-end. So full stack is doing both. So full stack means you touch the front end, you touch the back end, you touch all parts of the technology stack. That's what that means. Okay. So Solidity. So if you're back-end or you're full stack, then Solidity is going to be a must, or some people will just call you a smart contract developer if that's all you do. So Solidity is the programming language that's used for creating Ethereum smart contracts. So it's a Turing complete programming language influenced by C++, Python, and JavaScript. All right, runs on the Ethereum virtual machine at the time of recording this video in Ethereum 1.0. It's statically typed. It supports inheritance, libraries, all that kind of stuff. Okay. So there's plenty of tutorials on my YouTube channel on this one about how to code smart contracts in Solidity. We'll get more into that in the step-by-step plan. But if you just want to check now, you can go to my YouTube homepage, find any of those free courses there and that playlist. Okay. So Solidity is going to be a must. And even if you go work in something else, even if you set up your front end, I highly recommend at least doing some tutorials in Solidity just to understand how it works. Because if you're talking to the blockchain, it's good to understand how smart contracts function, because you're probably going to be interacting with them, even if you are just a front end developer in blockchain. So next would be JavaScript. All right. And so JavaScript is used for creating user interfaces. Typically, that's not the only thing, but that's the primary thing it's for. So for example, on this Compound Finance website, JavaScript is responsible for all the interactivity on this website. So you click this thing and this thing pops up. All right. JavaScript is responsible for doing that. You click enable. All right. And then the enabling happens. Well, JavaScript is responsible for that. So all the interactivity, all the buttons, all the button actions, all the animations on this website, JavaScript is responsible for that. So that's all front end stuff, but JavaScript has a ton of application on the back end as well. So if you're a back end developer, you still want to learn JavaScript in the context of Ethereum development because you use it for writing tests against the smart contracts. So the smart contracts are written in Solidity, but most of the time people don't write the tests in Solidity. They write it in something like JavaScript. It's really good to write tests for your smart contracts to make sure that they're robust. You write scripts a lot of times in JavaScript that just interact with the blockchain. They interact with your smart contracts. If you're going to maintain the smart contracts in production or monitor them, then JavaScript is really common for doing that. If you're doing some sort of migration with blockchain data, JavaScript's really popular for that. So whether you're front end, back end, full stack, JavaScript is probably the second most popular language for Ethereum development. All right. So if you just I want the core Ethereum technology, and the programming languages for that, Solidity and JavaScript will get you 99.9% of the way there. Okay. So, if you're doing JavaScript development, Web3.js is a really popular library for talking to the Ethereum blockchain. All right. React.js is also a really popular framework for building user interfaces. So some people like Vue or others, but React is a very popular one. It's one I teach on this channel. Okay. So even if you're just a backend developer, knowing some React is still really good because at some point you'll probably have to build some sort of user interface to talk to smart contracts, even if it doesn't look nice, even if it's not super sophisticated. And React is a really good way to do that. Okay. So next, a very common one is Python. So why would you need to know Python? We don't need to know it necessarily. Your job might require you to, but just to get started, you don't have to have Python. But people use Python for lots of different reasons for creating backends. You can use JavaScript on the backend with something like Node.js, for example. I forgot to mention that. But Python is really a backend language and a scripting language. So sometimes people create servers that help run their blockchain applications, like with Django or Flask, for example. And Python is the language that you would use to run those types of things. Web3 has a Python version, which would be really good for creating blockchain applications. All right. So Go is another popular language for core development, talking about developing actual blockchain infrastructure. Rust is another popular example of a language used for core development, and then also C++. So these top three languages would be the most common for application developers, and these bottom languages would be more for core developers. Okay. So that's the difference. App developers are developing things people use. Core developers are more developing the infrastructure, the stuff that the apps run on top of. Okay. So for most people watching this video, you want to focus on the first two, maybe the first three. But unless you want to be a core developer, which that's going to be a pretty small percentage of people watching this video, then you wouldn't have to worry too much about these bottom three. Okay, but if you do, these are definitely some languages for you to check out. So what does a blockchain developer do? We've talked about a lot of different things in this video, kind of peppered throughout, looking at the job description, talking about the programming languages, but let's codify it and look at a complete list, okay? So the first is creating smart contracts. Again, so this is the building blocks of blockchain-based applications. They're written in Solidity, deployed to Ethereum, okay? So smart contract developer is probably the most common back-end task for blockchain development. Talk about front end, talking about back end, smart contracts on the back end. So another is blockchain-based websites. So creating user interfaces that are deployed to the web that talk to smart contracts. So again, Compound is an example of that. All right. And then next would be mobile applications that talk to blockchain. So Argent would be an example of that as well. All right. So blockchain backends. So this would be like web servers that sort of enhance blockchain-based applications. So maybe you have a web server that brings in cryptocurrency prices into your application, or just acts as some sort of caching mechanism to read information from the blockchain to speed the app up. You might have a web server that powers that to, like, you know, put a price on the page or something like that. Okay. That's how you might integrate a web server into a blockchain-based application that doesn't take away from the blockchain nature of it, but it just enhances it and improves it. Okay. So the last would be like blockchain infrastructure. So this would be like creating a new blockchain or updating an existing blockchain and how it works. Or when I say updating, I mean like fine-tuning it basically for the clients, because blockchains run on nodes. The clients can be updated and all that kind of stuff. So those would be examples of different things blockchain developers do. So one thing I want to talk about really quickly is that there are lots of different ways to make money with blockchain. And this is one of the things I love most about this skill is, we've seen how in demand it is. It pays a lot higher than other fields simply because of supply and demand economics. There's lots of people that want blockchain developers. Relatively few people understand the technology. Makes the price of compensation go up. But the other big reason is different ways to make money. You don't just have to get a job. You don't just have to be a freelancer. You can do lots of other stuff that normal developers like web developers and mobile developers can't do. All right. So there's a lot of ways to earn passive income, which is incredible. Okay. So one of the most common ways is, maybe not most common ways, but one popular way is with trading bots. Okay. So these are cryptocurrency trading bots that make money on autopilot. So how do they work? Well, they don't work like normal trading bots. So you're not talking about trying to predict cryptocurrency prices. Like you might see like a Bitcoin trading bot that's like, oh, Bitcoin's going to go up $1,000, down $1,000, and I'm going to trade it based on that, or like, $10, whatever. This is different. It looks for price discrepancies on cryptocurrency exchanges. So it's called arbitrage. So you buy cryptocurrency like for $100 on one exchange and sell on a different exchange for $101. So that exploits, or it takes advantage of price discrepancies right now. And the cool thing about this, you do this with smart contracts on the blockchain. So the trades can't fail. You can do arbitrage on a cryptocurrency exchange without blockchain. You can just say like, I'm going to buy it here and sell it here, but the price might move on you and you might lose money on that trade. So these bots can't lose money because they're created by smart contracts, and you can actually code the smart contract to prevent that failure from happening. All right. And if the trade's not successful, then the transaction reverts. Okay. The other cool thing about them is you can use flash loans. Okay. So put that here. Flash loans are how you can borrow millions of dollars in cryptocurrency with zero money down. All right. I've done lots of videos on my channel about these trading bots for flash loans. You can just search about them. I've done the master classes on them, built my own trading bots. So basically flash loans are how you can borrow money for trading millions of dollars as long as you pay it back in the same transaction. So when you see that cryptocurrency price discrepancy, you can take out a loan, do the arbitrage trade, pay the loan back instantly, and make a profit from it. Okay. And you have to find these opportunities. And that's part of the battle of building the bot, but you can, build a bot to search these out, use the flash loans, create the smart contracts to do it. All right. So another way is, with yield farming. So, I make a really quick mention of this, but like on the Compound website, you can earn this 3% interest here, but you can also earn extra interest with comp tokens. So this is Comp's own native cryptocurrency. And, that's called liquidity mining or yield farming, but you can increase your exposure to this and earn even more percentage, like 10, 15, 20, 30 plus percent as a developer, by creating your own smart contracts to hook into the Compound protocol, the master classes on this, you can use flash loans to increase that exposure and do things you can't do through the Compound website to earn extra passive income with that application. All right. So another way is by running blockchain infrastructure. So blockchain nodes. So we're getting close. So Ethereum 2.0, at the time of recording this video, is launched in phase 0. Okay. So that's Ethereum moving from proof of work to proof of stake. And in order to earn the passive income reward as a validator, you have to set up a node to get that full profitability. All right. So having blockchain skills will help you with that. Of course, you have to have 32 Ether to stake, which is a lot of money. But you can do other infrastructure tasks, like you can run a Chainlink node. So Chainlink is a external data provider for smart contracts. Okay. And, Chainlink, once you become a validator on Chainlink, then you earn a passive income reward for doing that as well. And Chainlink validators are making thousands and thousands of dollars per day and per week, all right, or per week and per day, I should say. So that's another really great opportunity. So these are things that you can do with blockchain other than just getting a job, other than becoming a freelancer. Lots of passive income opportunities. There's more, but these are just some ones I want to bring up right now. All right. All right. So let's talk about the libraries and frameworks you would need to know if you want to build blockchain applications. So you don't have to know everything on this list, but I'm going to tell you a bunch of tools that you can use to accomplish whatever your goal you're trying to do, whether it's just create smart contracts, create a blockchain website, create a mobile app with blockchain, a backend, whatever. Okay. So let's go through these one by one. If you're going to create smart contracts, you need Node.js installed on your computer. So Node is a way to run it's a way to run JavaScript outside your web browser. JavaScript's made to run inside your web browser, but if you want to run a JavaScript script on your computer, you need Node.js installed. If you want to use JavaScript to create a backend web server or a mobile app or something like that, then you need Node.js installed because it's a runtime environment for JavaScript outside your web browser, which is where it's built to run initially. Okay. So that's also going to give you NPM, which is a package manager. So if you're importing any specific libraries into your app, like Web3.js, for example, you're going to install it with NPM. Okay. You could use Yarn. That's another common one, but for beginners, I usually recommend NPM. It's just standard. All right. So that's going to come bundled with Node.js. So there's nothing extra for you to do there. So the next one is Truffle. So Truffle is a framework for creating Ethereum smart contracts. All right. It's the one that I use a lot on this channel. So it lets you write Ethereum smart contracts with the Solidity programming language. It lets you write tests for the smart contracts inside of them. It's got a test runner that you can just run from the command line. It's got a script runner, so you can run scripts against the blockchain. You can code websites inside of Truffle as well with a little bit of extra work. Truffle's awesome. So if you're gonna create Ethereum smart contracts, highly recommend checking out Truffle. So next one is MetaMask. All right. So this is a mobile. It does have a mobile portion to it, but it's an Ethereum wallet. So let me just pull it up right here on my screen. So MetaMask, you can see this little fox icon up here in my right-hand corner. So I'm not logged in at the moment, but basically if you want to use a blockchain-based application, you need MetaMask installed. So a lot of browsers don't support blockchain connectivity out of the box. That's what MetaMask does. You can just go to the Google Chrome Web Store, search for MetaMask, install it. You need to hold some cryptocurrency in your wallet. That's what it's for too. MetaMask also has a mobile version, so you can download it on your phone and use blockchain apps that way, store cryptocurrency that way, send it around. You can also just store cryptocurrency inside your MetaMask wallet, send it around, Ethereum-based cryptocurrencies, okay? So that's what MetaMask is. That's what it's for. You definitely need it on your computer if you're going to develop blockchain-based applications. Next is Ganache. So Ganache is a development blockchain. So if you want to download a blockchain on your computer, so that you don't have to risk, real cryptocurrency, then that's what Ganache does. So you can download it, turn it on, it's going to give you a bunch of accounts for free. It's going to give you a bunch of cryptocurrency in those wallets. It's not worth anything in the real world. It's just fake cryptocurrency. But this lets you, have a throwaway blockchain that you can try things out on. Because the alternative is either, using a test network, which you can also do. It takes more time and it's a little more intensive. But the worst alternative is just testing things out on a live blockchain with Ethereum, for example, where you just like spend money and hope things work, right? I've done this a lot. Sometimes you actually have to do that in blockchain development. I mean, I've spent thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars testing things out on live blockchains, and then having to go back to the drawing board. So trust me, if we didn't have these development blockchains, it'd be way more painful. So that's what Ganache does. All right. So next is Web3.js. So just like your web browser does not support connection to the blockchain out of the box, websites won't support connection to the blockchain out of the box. So if you see like, the compound finance example we looked at several times in this video, if you want an application like that to talk to the blockchain, you have to connect to it. And that's really what Web3.js does. Okay. So it allows your application to connect to Ethereum. It's a JavaScript library. So if you're creating a user interface that connects to Ethereum, Web3.js is one of the most popular ways to do that. There's an alternative to Web3.js. There's also Ethers.js. Lots of developers use this too. All right. So you can check that out as an alternative to Web3. Web3 is the one I use the most on this channel. I've done some videos about Ether as well. So next is React.js. So this is if you want to create a user interface, like a website, for example. So there's nothing blockchain specific about React. It's just really common in the Ethereum ecosystem. That's one of the reasons that I focus on it. I've got a lot of experience with React. Lots of other developers use it to develop user interfaces for smart contracts. It's very standard, very, very, very standard. There's alternatives like Vue, but if you just want an opinionated, no thinking answer, then React is a really good way to go. Okay, so I want to teach on this channel, teaching some of the blockchain bootcamp. Yeah, it's really great. So next would be if you want to create some sort of like server side process, create some sort of backend that talks to the blockchain for some, improvement, maybe an API that pulls data from the blockchain and serves that up to other users. Express.js is an example. So say you just learned JavaScript, then you can use Express. So let's see here. I think this is it. I'm losing it here. Express. So Express is just a library, NPM package that lets you run a server with JavaScript. Okay. So that's if you know JavaScript. If you know Python and you want to do a Python backend, you can look at Flask. Okay, so this is a pretty lightweight development framework. I mean, it can be very robust, but you have to configure a lot of stuff. So Flask is a way to build backends with Python. Python's also a pretty popular programming language in blockchain. It has Web3, the Python version, okay, which you can integrate into your Flask application if you want to. If you like Django, that's another popular backend development framework for Python. It's also like full stack. It supports views out of the box and stuff like that. It's more opinionated, almost kind of like Ruby on Rails-esque, more so than Flask is. All right. So the last thing is if you want to build mobile apps and you want to just use the technologies, you want to use the programming languages you already know. Well, you can build mobile apps with JavaScript. You can use something like React Native, all right, and Expo. So you can just like learn JavaScript, use it to build blockchain websites. You can use it to test your smart contracts, and then you can use it to build mobile apps with Expo. All right, you can just import like Web3.js into an Expo application. I've done this on projects where you build a mobile app, you connect it to the blockchain, and you don't have to learn any new programming languages to do that. All right, so let's talk about some different developer setups. Like if you're gonna get started on this, like what, how can you do it? There's two different ways. The first way is just directly inside your web browser. So this is the easiest way to get started. And you can just use something called Remix, okay? So Remix is an online blockchain IDE. You don't have to install anything on your computer to get started. You can go in here and create a new file to write code in Solidity. You can compile that code directly in your web browser. Then you can just point and click and put it on a blockchain. You don't even have to have MetaMask installed to do it. You can just do everything inside your browser. Okay, there's a pretend blockchain behind the scenes that runs on Remix. Okay, that's the easiest way to get started. You won't be able to really build a full application in here. You'll just be able to create smart contracts. So sometimes it's a little abstract. You're like, okay, I created this smart contract and it does this thing, but I don't know, like, I don't know what, I can't see anything. That's the downside. But if you just want to get started really fast, really easily and create smart contracts, that's how you do it. I've got a video here that you can check out on my YouTube channel. It's called Master Solidity for Blockchain Step by Step. That'll show you how to use Remix, create smart contracts, learn Solidity from scratch inside your browser that way. All right. So the other way is basically to create an entire setup on your computer. So that's what you ultimately want to do if you're going to become like a real blockchain developer. So basically, you got to download Node.js on your computer with your terminal. All right. You have to install Truffle on your computer, all right, to create your smart contracts. You want some sort of text editor like Sublime Text or VS Code, right? You want to install Ganache on your computer and put all these things together so that you can create an application that way. That's what you ultimately want to get to. And the best way, I think, probably is to just start there. But if you like just starting with the easiest possible thing, then you could do it directly in your browser. I want to point you to a tutorial that will help you do all that stuff. So if you Google or get on YouTube and look for blockchain tutorial for beginners, this is my video, all right, where I show you how to build this application right here, step by step. I show you how to set up everything on your computer, install it, create this app. So this is a DeFi app. It's a token farm where you'll create a cryptocurrency, all right, you'll stake it into this application and it'll start earning like a passive income reward, a staking reward for doing that. Okay, so inside there, I show you how to build this DeFi app. I show you how to set it up on your computer, how to, do all that stuff so that you can graduate from just in-browser development to full stack, local development on your computer. All right, so now let's talk about the step-by-step plan on how to become a blockchain developer. So whether you're like brand new, you don't know anything about programming, or like you're a developer already and you want to transition into blockchain, this is a pretty good outline for both people. Now, if you're already a developer, you're of course going to be able to do this a lot faster than somebody who's brand new, no experience, but the track is basically the same. All right. So, let's talk about what that is. So, if you're already somewhat familiar with blockchain and you've already like played around with it, you might be able to skip a few of these preliminary steps. But let's just start there. All right. In case you might have missed something. So the first thing is to set up a blockchain wallet. Okay, so that's this MetaMask wallet right here. Okay, so install MetaMask on your computer. Just understand like what is a wallet? What does it do? It holds cryptocurrency. Learn how it works. Understand that the cryptocurrency actually isn't stored in your wallet. It's stored on the blockchain, and that you authorize the blockchain to spend the money whenever you sign the transactions and things like that. So you want to just like store some cryptocurrency in the wallet, send it around, see what it looks like to send cryptocurrency inside of a wallet. So the cool thing is you don't have to do this with real money. All right. You can just use a test network. So like you can just look up like the Rinkeby test network. All right. Something like that. Let me just pull it up here. Let's see. Let's do it here. So if you go like rinkeby.etherscan.io, this is a blockchain explorer that looks at the blockchain. So you can look for a Rinkeby faucet, get some fake cryptocurrency, and just send it around inside your wallet like that. That'd be the fastest and easiest way to do it without risking any real money. So if you want to do it with real money, you can do it with a small amount of money. So you can go to a website like Coinbase. Okay, so Coinbase is a way to buy cryptocurrency. So you can buy and sell different cryptocurrencies on here with like a debit card. But I would recommend buying some Ether, so Ethereum cryptocurrency, sending it to your MetaMask wallet on the Ethereum mainnet. You don't have to do a lot. You can do $5 or something like that. and just, see how it works, see what it looks like. So that's the first step, is really just getting used to cryptocurrency, seeing what that's like before you even try to build an application. Because once you build the apps, you have to use cryptocurrency to do it, to pay the gas fees, et cetera, to build DeFi apps. So you want to get the basic understanding of what it's like to even use a blockchain, look at a transaction receipt on Etherscan, and all that kind of stuff. Okay. So the next thing would be to do some sort of step-by-step tutorial. All right. So this is going to be where you jump in and you get exposed to the frameworks, the libraries, the programming languages, everything. Okay. The best way is to learn by doing, to have a goal in mind. If I want to become a blockchain developer, and you break that down into a lesser goal, which is, I just want to build an app. And that breaks down into smaller goals of, I need to learn the programming languages to build this app. And then to a smaller goal of, I need to learn this concept to make this programming language do this thing. All right. So it's the fastest way to learn. It's the most efficient way to learn. It's how I teach on this channel. So you can just do the tutorial, like this blockchain tutorial for beginners, build a DeFi app. It'll show you all those libraries and programming languages. You'll learn about Solidity, JavaScript, Truffle, Ganache, Web3.js, Ethereum, React.js, DeFi, cryptocurrency, tokens, staking, everything. You'll learn it all in this app, okay? Just by doing it. So that's the next step, all right, is basically once you've used cryptocurrency, jump in and start building a step-by-step tutorial that will teach you all these fundamentals, okay? It's better to learn that way than be like, here's a list of programming languages, go study those programming languages, then learn how to create something in those programming languages, and then learn how to connect it to a real app, and then that takes way too long. And honestly, it's a worse way to learn because you won't have context. Like if I teach you a bunch of programming languages without teaching what those programming languages can do, then you won't click. Okay. You'll be sitting there staring at code and you won't know what the code is supposed to do. But if you see the code demonstrated on screen and be like, this code does this, and then learn how this code works, and then you'll learn the ABCs of that programming language when you see the explanation of how that code works, it's so much faster. So much faster, all right? Because you have purpose, you have a reason you want to learn something, and you have context, all right? So context and purpose are huge. And basically building things, learning by doing accomplishes all that at the same time, right? So the tutorials that I put on this channel, and this Dapp. So before I get to that point, the other thing I would say, the caveat here is at some point you do want to get the in-depth aspect of the programming languages. So when you go through a tutorial like this, you'll learn the basics, right? You'll learn the basics of how to get something working. Now, you will at some point want to go learn more in-depth nuances of the programming language, but it's better to do that after you've learned the basics by building something, because you get so much knowledge, so much context, and then you can go learn the specifics of a programming language. And that's a good example of what this Master Solidity series is for. So once you've learned the fundamentals by building an app, then maybe it makes sense to go learn the intricacies and the nuance and sort of the dictionary way of doing things, learn everything about arrays, then learn everything about, loops and conditionals and, inheritance, all that kind of stuff. Maybe do that after you build a basic app first. Okay. That's what I would say. So, so the step-by-step tutorials, most of them that I put on this channel are really tutorials. They're designed to teach you the basics, to get you started, introduce the technologies. So the next one would be to build a real world tutorial. So this is a lot like what I do inside the Blockchain Bootcamp. I teach you how to build a decentralized cryptocurrency exchange that works like you would build it, like an app that you would build at a job. So it has more advanced features. It's secure. So basically you could use it. You could deploy it live to a blockchain right now. Real people could use it, and it would have a real use case. It's built to that level. Okay, that's the next step. After you've done tutorial on the basics, you want to jump up and build a real world tutorial, like a much more in-depth, like expert level type of thing, where someone's guiding you through that. So that's the next step after you do a step-by-step sort of introductory tutorial, I would say. So both of these things are being guided. Someone's showing you on screen how to do it. You're learning the skills as someone's holding your hands through the entire process. That's a great way to learn. Hand holding is great when you're brand new and have no idea what's going on, whether you're a programmer already or not. But you eventually want to graduate from hand holding, because this is how you're going to develop the functional skill of actually programming and actually learning to write code that solves problems. And that's unguided development. Okay. So how do you graduate from guided tutorials to unguided development? Well, it basically looks like this. So come up with something that you want to build and think about, how do I use blockchain to build this? All right. You'll have to solve the problem in your head, and then you'll have to break down that problem into the code that implements it. So what's an example? There are two ways to do it. You could build something brand new from scratch. Okay. You could say, hey, I want to build you could build something from scratch, or you could take something that exists now and just add features on it. Okay. So let's start off with the building something from scratch. The easiest way is to build something very similar to something that already exists. So like you could say, I want to build a decentralized bank where people can earn interest on their cryptocurrency. They can deposit and then also borrow on the other side, a lot like the Compound Finance app. So you say, okay, I want to build that. So what do I need to build that? Well, I need smart contracts. The smart contracts have to deposit cryptocurrency. So what do I need to know in order to do that? The smart contracts also have to be able to borrow cryptocurrency on the other side, or let users borrow the cryptocurrency. So what do I need to know to make that happen? You can research these things, find those answers, and then that gets down to the nuts and bolts of how do I write the code to make that happen? So here's where, your learning really comes alive. You're going to run into walls. Okay. You're going to get frustrated. You're going to want to throw your computer out the window, but that's where you acquire the hard-won knowledge that makes you a good developer. Because the hard truth is you're going to face that in your career at some point. So it's better to go ahead and face it now, because that's going to give you solid orientation to what your life is going to be like whenever you become a developer. Okay. Professional developer. So, it's when you get forced in those moments of having to figure out things you don't know how to do, where you really grow, you really learn. And that's what's going to make you a pro developer. All right. And that's what you do by unguided development. Okay. So I said that's like when you can build something from scratch based on something else that you already know about, because then you can just write. Sometimes you could copy a little bit of their code or copy a little bit of their solution to kind of cheat a little bit, but it's still better than just doing a straight up tutorial. Okay. So the harder way is basically invent something that doesn't exist and then coding it. But that might be a little challenging if you're just starting out. But if you've been doing multiple tutorials, maybe that's a good next step. Okay. So the easiest way to go from real world tutorials to unguided development is just to build features on top of existing tutorials. Basically take an existing tutorial and then take it to the next step. So let's say this Dapp token farm. If you want to build out your skills, you could say, well, I want to add some more code to the smart contract that implements a lockup period for staking. Maybe they have to stake for a year before they earn rewards or something like that. Okay. You could just try to figure out, okay, how do I write the code to make people keep their money in this app for a year and lock it up before they can withdraw their staking rewards. Those are the kinds of things you think through, and then you invent the code that does that, you implement it, and that's how you go from real world tutorial to unguided development. That's how you create those real functional skills, problem solving skills, meta skills, if you will, that make developers value. Okay. They make them valuable. All right. So, once you're doing unguided development, and you've built, you basically want to take your unguided development and polish it off, like make it look nice and include it into a portfolio. Because if you want to land a job, you need to communicate that you have the skills, and your portfolio is the best way to do this. So you can just create a portfolio website that gives you a presence that tells people who you are, what you can do. You can basically make your resume all in the same place. It's a really good way to stand out so that your resume doesn't get lost in your employer's inbox. It shows that you've also gone the extra mile to present yourself. You can see plenty of examples here where people just market themselves, they pitch themselves, they say, hey, it warms the person up so that you pre-qualify yourself before you have a conversation with somebody about getting a job. It's a huge advantage. Okay. So, but when you create your portfolio and your resume website, you want to put your projects that you've done inside of there. And that's exactly what this unguided development is great for. So if you build something from scratch, or you take an existing tutorial and you build on top of it, you want to polish it off so that it looks nice, and so that you can put some screenshots of it inside your web portfolio website that people can click through and actually use the application. Maybe it's on a test network. Maybe you could do a video demo of you talking about the application and showing it on screen. You would definitely want to open source the code on GitHub. So if you have a technical hiring manager, they can look at the code that you've written and see what the quality of work is like. So that's all the kind of stuff you want to do. So once you've done the unguided development, you want to polish it off, complete it, really go for the throat and flesh it out, put it in your portfolio, so that you can advertise yourself when you're trying to market yourself to become a blockchain developer and get a job. So the next thing is you start applying for jobs. So there's lots of different ways to do this. You can look at any of the job posting websites that I talked about before. You can get on Reddit. All right. Let me just pull up some of these resources. So let's see here. Monster.com, Indeed.com. So I'm just pulling these up off screen. I'll put them back on here. There's lots of different ways to look for blockchain jobs. So, like monster.com, indeed.com, hired.com. Let's see, Reddit even has a huge sticky thread for 2020. They'll probably have one for 2021 by the time this video goes out. About who's hiring. You can post your own credentials on top of there, right? This is a great place for you to add your portfolio so you can stand out. That's sort of the offensive strategy. You can also just create a social media account for yourself and interact with people at other blockchain companies over social media, on GitHub, all that kind of stuff. You can go to meetups. It's kind of hard right now for a lot of people, but there's lots of ways that you can apply for jobs. I create a lot more videos on this channel about doing that. So I highly recommend checking those out for sure. But there's so many ways you can do it. You can look them up online. You can network in person. You can network online. But having that portfolio is going to be key because it shows people what you can do. It pre-qualifies you. Yeah. And so some people ask me when should you apply for jobs? So my short answer, I lean towards basically as fast as possible. Not too fast. You don't want to do one tutorial probably and then go apply for a job, although some people could do that. But once you've done some unguided development, you definitely want to do a tutorial. You want to do some unguided development. You want to have a portfolio first. You do all these steps. But once you have that, I would apply for some jobs. Okay. So you may not get a job right away, but you'll get something incredibly valuable. You'll get feedback about what the employer is actually looking for and how your skills stack up to what they're looking for. Okay. So, that can be painful because rejection is always painful. But if you get that feedback, it just tells you what you need to work on. You'll get a really clear idea of where your skills line up and what you need to improve. Because what you don't want to do is spend years coding in the wrong direction, right? You don't want to assume that you need to do something and be focused on the wrong things and waste all that time. So the faster you apply for a job, let's say you don't get it, you get that feedback about what you need to do to improve. And maybe you could improve that in a matter of months and actually get a job rather than trying to just wait too long. Okay. So, yeah, you definitely want to start applying for jobs soon. But let's say your skills are up to par and, you land that job. All right. And so, yeah, you definitely land that job. You celebrate like crazy. And if you watch this video, you go through all these steps, you end up landing that job, make sure you shoot an email to gregory@dappuniversity.com. Let me know. I always love to hear the success stories of people who have done that. You can go to my YouTube homepage and see the playlist there, student success stories. It'll tell you about people who have gotten their first blockchain job from after doing the blockchain boot camp, after watching these YouTube videos. I've had students get their first blockchain job in a matter of months. I think 2 months has been the fastest that I've seen from the students who've gone through those programs. But yeah, that's the roadmap. That's how you go from point A to point Z, whether you're a brand new developer or you're have some development experience already and want to transition into blockchain. All right, so let's talk about some frequently asked questions that I get all the time. Okay. So I've answered a lot of FAQs throughout this video, but I'm going to save 2 of the most common ones and probably the most important ones for the end of the video, because I get these weekly. I get these multiple times per week. Okay. So the first one is, how long does it take to become a blockchain developer? So it really depends. It depends on lots of things, like where you're starting from. Do you have any coding background? How much time do you have to study blockchain development? Okay. So I'll give you a few different pieces of advice here, or a few different possibilities. So first of all, there's no guarantee on any of this stuff. It could take some people way longer. It could take some people it could be really fast for different reasons. It doesn't mean you're smarter than somebody else or not as smart as somebody else. There's lots of different factors. Okay. So the dead simple answer that I would say, if you just want a really general round number for somebody with no coding experience, I would just say having a goal. I think a goal is better than an answer, right? So there's no definitive answer on how long it's going to take you personally to accomplish this goal. But I think having a goal is key. So if you're brand new to coding, you've never coded before, you want to get into blockchain, you want to get a job, I would set a goal of 1 year. All right. Now, you could do it way faster than that. You could do it way longer than that. Okay. So you need to revisit that roadmap I talked about doing all those steps. I've had people go through the blockchain bootcamp and get their first blockchain developer job in 2 months. That's the fastest that I've personally seen it happen from somebody who's new. Okay. They got an entry-level job. Okay. You can go check out the video on my YouTube homepage. Go to the student success stories. I think it's called How to Get a Blockchain Developer Job in 2 Months. You'll see the story about how he did that, get some insight. Okay. I would set a goal of a year, because it's good for you to have a goal. Even if it takes you longer, you want to have a goal in mind, because not having a goal means you're just going to take too long. Work tends to take the amount of time that you give it. So if you give yourself a year, it's way more likely that you'll hit that goal within that time frame than it taking like 2 to 5 years or something like that, which it really shouldn't, if you're consistently applying yourself. All right. But it might, even if it does take 2 to 5 years. And let's say in 2 to 5 years, you dramatically improve your financial situation over the long term. Do you care that it took 2 to 5 years on the big picture, on the grand scheme of things? You might not. All right. So, if you want a faster, more conservative estimate, let's say you're a student and like you've got an entire summer to work on this, or like you just graduated college, you got some extra time, or maybe you have a part-time job. Maybe you just have no job for whatever reason. Let's say you have a ton of time available to you. It's very conceivable that you could do this in 6 months or less. Okay. I mean, when I started programming, I was able to get my skills to a professional level in about 6 months. I was working on it a lot every single day. That's key. You want to spend a lot of time doing that if you want to do it faster. But blockchain is not that different from other fields in the amount of time that it would take to learn. It doesn't necessarily take longer than general web development. It may be a little bit longer because of the diverse types of technology you have to learn, but I think to become minimally viable, you could still do it relatively fast. I mean, you can. I mean, I've talked about people who have done it. I've helped people do it. Okay, so that's what I'd say about how long it takes. So you need to ask yourself, like, how much time can you devote to doing it? Can you spend an hour per day? Can you spend 2 hours per day? Can you spend 1 hour per week? I mean, yeah, you got to figure out a lot of that stuff and kind of gauge your timeline. So another thing is, people ask me all the time, should I learn blockchain first or should I learn a bunch of other programming languages first and then focus in blockchain? So if blockchain development is your ultimate goal, then start with blockchain. All right. So start with the thing you actually want to learn. And then learn everything else as you go. So what would that look like? Well, the easiest way is to basically create a blockchain application, just like I talked about inside these tutorials. Okay. Inside the blockchain bootcamp, basically learn how to build a blockchain application, because you're going to learn all the blockchain you're learning by doing. You're learning how blockchain works. You're learning the programming languages, everything as you go. You're learning blockchain. And then let's say as you become a more sophisticated developer, people want you to learn how to develop, be better at the web development side of things. Well, you learn that on top of your blockchain skills. Or like you want to learn mobile development with blockchain. Well, learn the mobile development on top of blockchain, because ultimately you're specializing in these blockchain skills. You want to start with your specialty because that's going to be faster over the long term than like starting off with something else and then like trying to specialize in blockchain. You can do it that way, but it's much faster to learn blockchain first. Okay, that's what I would say. All right. So those are the frequently asked questions that I get all the time. And yeah, that's it. I'm gonna stop the video there for today, everybody. So I really hope that you like this video. As always, smash that like button down below. Subscribe to this channel. That's the only thing I ask in return for like putting in, all the time that it takes to make a video like this. Bookmark this video, come back, share it. Live by this stuff if this is your goal to become a blockchain developer. Again, it's one of the highest paid fields in tech right now. There's lots of different ways to earn money with blockchain. We're on the ground floor of a brand new, exciting technology that has a potential to really change how people use the internet. All right. That's one of the biggest reasons I'm here. Go check out the tutorials that I've talked about in this video. This DeFi app tutorial for beginners, the Solidity tutorial. Check out that step-by-step plan, build that stuff, go do your unguided tutorial. And if you like those videos and you want to start leveling up and build a real world DeFi app, real world blockchain app, then I can show you how to do that inside the blockchain bootcamp. All right, step by step from start to finish. Show you how to build a decentralized cryptocurrency exchange, powered by smart contracts. It's a real world application. We've even got a section in there on how to integrate with Chainlink to do like real world stuff with the blockchain. So this is the fastest way to really level up your skills and build a professional of a project that you can use for your portfolio. You can customize it, all that kind of stuff. So, I've helped people with zero programming experience become real world blockchain developers with the bootcamp. I was talking about the student who got their first blockchain developer job in 2 months, all right, after doing the bootcamp. So you can check out that video that I've referenced several times in here. Just go to my YouTube homepage, look for the student success stories and find that video on how to get your first blockchain developer job in 2 months. He did that after doing the bootcamp. So this stuff works, all right? There's lots of people out there who are even hiring beginner blockchain developers. I know we've seen like some senior positions and all that kind of stuff, but people are definitely hiring new people, all right? I've seen it. I've hired new people myself personally, or I hire developers. So it definitely is out there. So again, hope you like this video. Bookmark this, come back, watch it, share it, like this video, subscribe. Thanks again. And until next time, thanks for watching Dapp University.